And with our first story, we might as well start things off with a bang. And this is actually something that just yesterday they have revealed this news, and it definitely got a lot of people talking. And this may not necessarily be good news, but even during times like this, it doesn't seem to be stopping Disney from announcing more and more live-action remakes. And what I am talking about is going to be the Robin Hood remake. Yes, Disney has revealed that they are going to be making a live-action remake to the 1973 animated classic Robin Hood. They have also mentioned that there are already a few people that will be involved with the project. First of all, we got Carlos Lopez Estrada, the director of the 2018 movie Blindspotting, who will be the director of the film, and also Cary Granlund will be the writer, which previously she just wrote the live-action remake of Lady and the Tramp, so she has some experience in this. Now, there are three very significant things to mention about this particular remake of Robin Hood. And it's that, number one, this is going to be a Disney Plus exclusive, so it's not going to be released in theaters, but instead, it's just going to be on Disney Plus. Number two, it is going to be a musical, so the same songs that we have heard and loved in the original, like Oo-De-Lally and The Phony King of England, will still be there. And number three, it's still going to be anthropomorphic animals. Yes, apparently, just to read a little bit from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, it states that the new take is said to be a musical and again will feature the characters as anthropomorphic, this time in a live-action CG hybrid format. So, guys, how do you feel that now Robin Hood is getting the live-action treatment?
This is weird because I'm wondering if, since they said it's a hybrid, are they just gonna have like regular sets with that? Are they not gonna like make CG sets like they did with Lion King, or are they just gonna like film or make their own sets and then just film people in mocap suits? Um,
It is
yeah,
possible. It is possible because, like, I can imagine they'll just be around the forest, and all the characters, like all the people, are just going to be wearing mocap, and that's it. Because when you think about the sets of Robin Hood, like, all you need is just a forest and maybe just a little bit of a
yeah,
village, and that's it.
yeah. The sets for Robin Hood, they're not that complicated for what they are.
Hmm.
Um,
And especially the fact that this is just a Disney Plus exclusive. The budget is not going to be as big or tremendous as something like Beauty and the Beast, or how much they put in Mulan, which I think it's like close to 300 million or something. So it's not going to have that big of a budget. So you can't expect this to be like this massive CGI extravaganza.
yeah. Which I'm wondering like how good is it gonna look compared to the other remakes, since it is just the Disney Plus exclusive. Because Lady and the Tramp, I watched that when it came out, and I thought it was like on the upper end of the live action remakes, at least for me.
Oh, okay.
Um, but it was still like, oh, this feels like a budget movie, um, compared to the stuff in theaters.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is true. I'm actually surprised. Believe it or not, I have yet to actually see the remake because, well, I didn't really have that much interest in seeing that
Yeah,
version, but I am actually kind of surprised to hear that. But honestly, in terms of the visuals, especially the fact that it is going to be limited, it does concern me because they're still committed to do the anthropomorphic animal thing, so how the fridge is that gonna look? Saber, do you have a
yeah,
hairpiece in this?
Why can't we just leave Robin Hood alone in general?
yeah. In general, do you know how many Robin Hood movies there are?
That is true. I mean, like last time, what is it? We got that Pirates of the Caribbean style movie with Russell Crowe. I remember I
Yeah,
did see that at one point on the big screen. It was like, it was all right, but then again, it's not the most memorable Robin Hood thing. That is true. We've had a lot of Robin Hoods.
So I recently rewatched Disney's Robin Hood because like, there are parts about that movie I like a lot, and there's other parts where I'm like, yeah, this kind of the pacing drops here, or like the tone of the movie shifts drastically because like right after the music scene in the forest where they're dancing after the archery tournament, like the tone shifts from like Oo-De-Lally to we're gonna kill some prisoners, and that kind of tone still just is very jarring to me. But I guess talking about the remake, I never saw Robin Hood as like this massive thing from Disney that's like worth coming back to. Like if you're
Yeah,
gonna
and
do
even if
this,
you're like going to remake it, why would you remake it in this style? Remake it in the Zootopia style. That just makes a lot more sense.
oh, that'd be pretty cool actually. Is Utopia style? They
Yeah,
won't do
just
that.
like a CG style like that
My
instead.
biggest fear right now is that they're gonna phone this in, and that's sucks because like everybody's mentioning cats, and if they're not throwing in a big budget to actually make this look good, then it's gonna be like I don't know, Uncanny Valley potentially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then also all the actors they had for the original film were fantastic. I'm not sure, like Peter Ustinov as Prince John is like you can't touch that. He's one of those actors where he's born to this world, you get to enjoy him for a bit, and he's gone. You'll never see his likes again. And just that sniveling, incompetent character, how it works so well with his voice is just perfection. I don't know who. There's no one off the top of my head right now who I think can even like recreate that.
Yeah,
Or
unless they like change the
Yeah.
character somehow and like
Yeah, do like Will Smith with
Yeah.
the Genie, just make an entirely new character in a way.
yeah.
I
True.
suppose. I don't know. Or just not touch this at all. I've seen people bring up like there are animated films from Disney that are actually good candidates for a live action remake, or not even live action at this point, but you know what I mean. A remake like Treasure Planet. I think that'd be great as a high budget remake. But Disney's like, yeah, no, we lost so much money, we're not even going to touch that one. Or Atlantis.
Oh,
That could work.
that's another
But Robin Hood just seems weird to me. I don't know. If anything, this will be a spectacular disaster, which is, you know, a good day for us reviewers. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and you did mention how everybody is comparing to cats, and that could be another way that it could be compared to cats as well. That if it is a disaster, then this is going to be something that reviewers will definitely jump into and go crazy over. Because honestly, for me, I would say my one biggest fear of this is not necessarily who are they going to get as the actors, or what scenes are they going to change to modernize this movie, but rather how the characters are going to look. Like, how are they going to interpret a more realistic version of anthropomorphic animals? Like, are they just going to go and do human bodies but with realistic animal heads? Like, that's the one thing that I'm a little bit confused about. It's like, how are you going to go and pull that off in a way that you want to stay true to the live action remake style and yet try to I don't know. That's something that I feel confused and concerned.
I don't know. I just there's nothing here that I feel like will come close to the original. And the original to begin with, I don't feel like was like spectacular. I don't see that as like, wow, this is one of the golden like top tier stuff that Disney's made. It's got things about it that I like with the design of the characters and their personalities and but like the overall story just feels janky to me. And I don't know. I kind of put it around the C range for Disney with their stuff. Maybe like upper C, lower B. But it's just odd to me that Disney's like, this is it. This is the one we're gonna do. And we're gonna put on Disney Plus, and here's your maybe $50 million budget, if even that. Might even be cheaper. So I don't know. And the movie's also pretty short. So I don't know if they're gonna stretch it out or not.
Uh,
I don't know.
then again, I mean, they've been doing that with plenty of their other remakes before. Like, when you look at many of the other ones, like Sleeping Beauty or Jungle Book, or hell, even Beauty and the Beast, the length of them are really not that long. Like, they can be around like 70 to 80 minutes, and that's pretty much it. And so far,
Yeah.
the remakes have been really extending them long, trying to add more.
Yeah,
bits and
they're
stuff.
putting in a lot of unnecessary
Mhm.
like exposition,
Or
which
like
like it just didn't need in the original film.
yeah, or they would throw in like a new song or two, which is probably what they're gonna do for
Yeah.
this one. Oh my god. You know, actually, okay, there's probably one thing that they could do that I could forgive them for, and is if one of the songs they will try to add in is any of like those Louis Prima songs, because I remember there's actually an album out there that Louis Prima ended up getting pissed off because he wasn't in the Robin Hood movie, so in response he decided to make an entire album dedicated to Robin Hood. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I've not actually. It's
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, you gotta hear it. And there, actually, the first album is actually Louis Prima himself acting like King Louis. And the more you listen to it, the more it's actually kind of creepy, actually, because it's King Louis talking to the kids, and he's explaining how, like, oh, me and Robin Hood back then, like, we knew each other, we're good friends and stuff. And it sounds creepy because it almost sounds like he's trying to lure the kids into his truck or something. It's like, hey there, little kid, I know Robin Hood, he's my good friend, come to
Wait,
my
so
band.
hold tight. So Louis wanted to be Prince John or King Richard, or which character exactly?
He didn't specify. I don't think there is a specification. It's just Louis Prima wanted to be in the Robin Hood movie because he had a great time with the Jungle Book, and he was just upset that he didn't get to be there, so he just made an album and that's it.
That's odd. So it's so strange hearing stories about like famous people who wanted roles in movies. Because I'm not sure. I need to verify this, but apparently, like, didn't like Michael Jackson want to be Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars, and he was like upset that he didn't get the role or something like that. I need to look that up.
I'd never heard of that, but possibly.
I'm gonna look into it because it could just be hearsay. But I remember like reading about that and watching a video about that and how like allegedly the guy who played Jar Jar
Mm-hmm.
was at a Michael Jackson concert, and Michael Jackson like discovered that that's the guy who was playing Jar Jar and was like keeping away from him and giving him like shooting daggers at him, like, how dare you be in my stage. I don't know. This is all allegedly. I need to verify it, but just thinking of Michael Jackson hating Jar Jar is kind of funny to me.
Now the question is, would that make things better or worse? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine a Michael Jackson Jar Jar, and it's like how would that work?
I got a quote here. I think this is from the guy who played Jar Jar. It says, quote, me, Natalie Portman, and George Lucas's kids, we were at Wembley Arena at Michael Jackson's concert. We were taken backstage and we met Michael. There was Michael and Lisa Marie. George introduced me as Jar Jar, and I was like, quote, thanks, that's kind of weird, Michael. That's kind of weird, end quote. Michael was like, oh, okay. Then the Jar Jar guy's like, I thought, what's going on? After Michael had driven off, we all go back up to a big after party. I'm having a drink with George, and I said, quote, why did you introduce me as Jar Jar? George said, well, Michael wanted to do the part, but he wanted to do it in prosthetics and makeup like Thriller. George wanted to do it in CGI. My guess is ultimately Michael Jackson would have been bigger than the movie, and I don't think he wanted that. So yeah, there you go. I guess Michael wanted to be Jar Jar and do it in like prosthetics.
Oh God. Now now I know for sure that's even worse. It's like not just Michael Jackson as Jar Jar, but a prosthetics Jar Jar? It's like I don't know, man. It's just I don't want Gungans to be real, man. I prefer them to look like they're CGI. It's like, okay, they're not real. That's a CG thing.
When I was a kid, I feel like I fell right into George Lucas's trap because I was all about the Gungans. Like I wanted all the Gungans. No, hear me out. I straight up would watch the fight scene specifically for the Gungans versus the droids. I wanted to make a Gungan Lego army. I was so hyped over that. And then as I got older, I realized, oh, these guys suck. And I look back on it, kind of like cringe. I'm like, oh man, why did I like the Gungans so much? Jesus, I was all about them. I'm like, yeah, Jar Jar. And then, which in hindsight makes me realize, wow, George was onto something because I fell for that stuff really hard.
Actually, I'm just curious. How do you feel about that theory about Jar Jar being originally planned as the ultimate bad guy? Have you heard about that story?
I've heard of it. I don't know if it's actually confirmed, if it came from like a reputable source as far as like the writers of Star Wars or George or whatever were like, yeah, that's the plan. But I've heard the idea of like, okay, let it be known though that I don't know if it was through Sith influence, the Force, but like Jar Jar was the one who was like, "Hey, so let's give emergency powers to the Chancellor." Like, I don't know if that was Jar Jar being stupid or if that's Jar Jar being like tricked by the Force, but you can point to a single moment where Senator Jar Jar proposed to the what was it called, the Galactic whatever Senate, like let's give this guy all, you know, encompassing powers. So yeah, Jar Jar is the reason why the Republic fell. Never forget.
Yeah, but we are getting a little bit sidetracked, admittedly. Just
I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. Sometimes I really do like these extra bits here. But going back in the subject of Robin Hood, overall, yeah, I'm just really doubting this whole thing. I don't know if this is something that I would really want to watch, and in terms of how it's going to be executed, maybe it could be good. It could turn out better than we think, but so far, the plans that we got from what we're hearing, nothing against the people who are working on it, nothing against Carlos Lopez Estrada, and nothing against Cary Granlund. It's just the idea of a live-action remake of Robin Hood and still keeping them as anthropomorphic animals. I don't know. I feel like so far it seems like a pretty hopeless cause.
Yeah, I don't see the point. It doesn't seem like something where there's a lot of potential with it, unless like you said, if it was in like Zootopia style or animation and quality, it could be kind of cool. I'll be like, oh, okay, so the folks who did Zootopia are doing this, and they're doing it Zootopia style. Neat. But even then, if that was the case, I feel like this script's going to require some overhaul, because like I truly believe that after the archery tournament, things kind of got way too dark, way too quickly, and I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of the charm and happy-go-luckiness of the movie was just gone in the movie, and that to me seemed like it was way too big of a tone shift. I mean, again, you went from Dance in the Forest to what was it? Was it the Aristocats that copied Robin Hood, or vice versa? I know that there's dancing stuff that they borrowed.
Well, a lot of the dancing was like from Jungle Book.
Yeah, like Jungle Book, Snow White, and Aristocats. And yeah, it's Robin Hood that copied Aristocats, since Aristocats was the last movie.
Jesus, man, Robin Hood's a hodgepodge of just other films in there. What's that term called again? It escapes me. When you copy over
recycling animation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was to go from that to Friar Tuck getting like beaten up in a graveyard by a sheriff and his vultures. Like actually, Friar Tuck had the sheriff on the ropes. He had a stick and he was like beating his ass with a sheriff had a sword and he was losing. I thought that was pretty funny. Because like, okay, Phil Harris was Baloo. Oh, not Baloo. Lol. With Little John.
Same thing, really.
Really was. Pat Buttram was, I think I'm saying his name right, was the sheriff of Nottingham. Peter Ustinov was Prince John. The other names escaped me, but there's a pretty good voice cast for it.
Oh yeah.
And I know that like it's not like there can only be one voice for a character for all time, the end. But this is going to be difficult if you're trying to recreate it like in that way and find parallels with voice actors. Good luck. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic about this one. I think it could potentially be a big failure, or at least like bad enough to where it'll be enjoyable for how bad it is.
Yeah, I think there is a reason why they're just going to stick it to Disney Plus. I mean, it's not like they have so much hope to the point that they're going to release it on the big screen and make it one of their big motion picture events.
That says something right there.
Mm-hmm. Paleo, do you have any final thoughts on this?
No, I'm just interested to see whenever they release a trailer to what it will look like, because we've seen like the realistic animals from Jungle Book and The Lion King, but seeing the realistic anthropomorphic animals is going to be really weird.
If I was in charge of making a trailer, I'd probably do a Oo-De-Lally song with some visuals go along with it, or the beginning song with them walking in place through a picture book. I think it'd be kind of cool. A picture book, but through the pages of a book.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. The way that I imagine the trailer, like, I imagine they're just gonna emphasize like a lot of the action scenes, and we're gonna hear like an epic soundtrack version of Oo-De-Lally, probably throughout the whole thing. I mean, that's what they've been doing so far with these trailers.
How would you even do that? That'd be interesting. Interesting, good or bad. I don't know. Just depends on how it goes. Interesting. All right, word.
Yeah, so now I want to go into the chat wall and pass on the mic to them, and I would like to ask you guys, what do you all think about the live-action remake of Robin Hood? Is it something that you guys would like to go and see? Do you think this is a good idea, or are you more on our side and you feel doubtful and probably a little bit scared too? Let me know what you all think. Alright, let's see what we got here. I hope this will be as enjoyable as Lady and the Tramp. I watched that one, and I personally think it's one of the best live-action remakes from Disney, right up there with The Jungle Book. It stays a lot true to the 1955 classic, although it changes some of the elements. However, I didn't expect something like this to exist. If the director can bring the spirit of the 1973 film on this one, then I'm interested. If not, then I'm doubtful. Okay, that's fair. Let's see now. I've only seen the original movie once, and from what I remembered, it was a decent movie, but I don't see the need for this to be remade. I get why they want to make it, cause money of course, but at least it's on Disney Plus and not in theaters. Also, get ready for people to complain that it's either a live-action or CGI film similar to what happened to the Lion King remake. Oh crap, is that debate gonna return? Oh no. Oh god, those discussions are a nightmare to deal with when The Lion King was out. Oh man. Anyways, to be fair, I could see this one being better than the Lion King remake because here's one big problem with the live-action Lion King. The original 1994 film was nearly flawless, almost to the same level as Beauty and the Beast. Well, while I did enjoy Robin Hood, it had a lot of flaws like reused animation and some scenes pacing inconsistencies. I was hoping this remake would be more reminiscent to Zootopia. Speaking of which, I am curious to what Zootopia remake would look like in 20, 30 years. Actually, it just made me realize something. Like, does it, like, considering that they have, like, the original recycled elements from the past movies, do you think, in the live-action remake of Robin Hood, they would go and recycle elements from, like, past live-action remakes?
Oh my god, would Little John just be Baloo from Jungle Book? The live action Jungle Book?
Oh my god.
We're really staying on point with that.
Yeah. Or like many of the dance scenes, like with Robin and Maid Marian, they're somehow falling in love and they're gonna dance the same way as Belle and Beast in the Beauty and the Beast remake or something like that. I don't know. That should be, if you want to stay true to remaking Robin Hood, then you gotta recycle elements from past live action remakes. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see now. For some people, this news is horrifying, but for Warner Brothers, they're looking at this and saying, hold my beer, and decided to make a live action remake of Cats Don't Dance. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm guessing this is a joke. Also, I only have this, I only have this to say that can improve an idea. Have Tim Curry voice Prince John. Tim
Curry's not really doing stuff anymore, though, is he?
Nah.
Yeah, he's not in the best shape.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. I mean, like, in theory, that would be a great idea, but I don't know. It's probably best to pass the torch to someone else. But I will say, like, I did think about the idea of, like, who could play Prince John, and there is one idea that's in my mind. Like, yeah, he's no Peter Ustinov, but could probably bring his own flair onto the character, and I'm thinking maybe, like, Steve Martin or maybe Mike Myers, or more Steve Martin, though.
Something that's going to be challenging, because Peter Ustinov...
Oh, yeah.
There are actors who have that natural, like, this is just what they bring to the table as this is their voice, and then hone it with practice and direction, and it can be even more than that. And Peter, his voice fell so... It worked perfectly as the sniveling... Because when you listen to Prince John's voice, it's not kingly. Though it's funny, because he can do a kingly voice, because I know that he did... He was the King Richard, but he had to boost it a bit more and make it sound more like, regal. But Prince John sounded like, he's a weak, small little man who barks really loud, but also falters as soon as force shows up. He, because Peter Ustinov was also in Spartacus, and he also kind of filled that same role to a degree of like, I'm a very good slave owner, and someone who like is there to please people. And I know that's different from Prince John's character, but I don't know. I just see Peter's voice is gonna be hard. I mean, I have high praise for Peter. I think Prince John's character and the casting for it's some of my favorite for an animated film ever. So like that's just seems incredibly difficult to make it work. I haven't watched Aladdin because I mean it can be said also that like recapturing, recasting Robin Williams as Genie is also, nigh impossible. So I guess in the regards of like we can't recapture Robin, that's impossible. So let's go in a new direction. And I guess like I'm not sure if you all can testify to this, but were they able to do that with Will Smith as Genie?
Well, for at least in my opinion, he didn't. Will Smith didn't recapture Robin Williams, but what he did as his own interpretation of the Genie is actually one of the better things of that movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of people were thinking that Will Smith was going to be like one of the worst part of the movies, one of the worst parts of the movie, but actually he's one of the best parts.
That's what I was wondering. I wasn't sure if like at that point, if you just wash your hands of, it's like we cannot do justice to Robin Williams and what he did with his personality and his direction. So Will Smith, you do Will Smith as Genie. So embrace what makes you you. Okay, word. Okay, I need to watch that film.
Yeah, just check it out once and see for yourself. It's one of those movies that it is worth seeing, but only once, so you can have an opinion and see how that goes.
All right, word. I agree. I'll check it out. I'm not a huge fan of the live action stuff. Whatever. That's not really an unpopular opinion.
Yeah, and you've made a few videos talking about that subject. Am I correct?
I have. I haven't touched it in a while, but yeah, they're just to me pale in comparison. So
yeah, true. I'll go and read one more, and then we're gonna jump on to our next story. Let's see. I'll go with which one should I go with? Okay, here. I'm all for another Robin Hood movie. But if they're remaking the 1973 version complete with anthropomorphic animals, yikes. Can't imagine how it would turn out, unless they took a page from Zootopia in terms of character design. Yeah, they could. Just make sure you don't freak us out with the character designs. That's all I'm asking.